A US enterprise can adopt an AI platform to reduce labor cost in one workflow and still see the margin gain narrow once the full P&L is reviewed. Platform charges, data preparation, output validation, integration work, and parallel legacy systems must all be allocated before the net contribution becomes visible. The question is not whether the platform created efficiency. It is whether the enterprise captured that efficiency as margin or whether the platform layer retained a structural share before the gain could become operating leverage. At first glance, the efficiency appears straightforward. The workflow accelerates and labor requirements fall. The margin outcome becomes less straightforward once every layer required to deliver and sustain that result is properly counted. Platform providers and enterprise adopters experience AI costs differently. Platforms concentrate capital in shared infrastructure and models that serve many customers from one base. Once capacity exists, incremental usage can carry low marginal cost, allowing gross margin to widen with volume. Enterprises add the AI service atop existing operational, compliance, data, and reporting structures. The platform fee arrives as a usage-scaled input cost, while integration and monitoring add overhead that does not decline when activity falls. The same underlying capability can therefore expand margin in one layer while compressing it in another. The cost appears lower only before the full stack is counted. Many finance teams initially model AI adoption as converting variable labor cost into a smaller platform expense. That model is incomplete. Platform cost scales directly with usage. The internal resources required to make outputs reliable, review, compliance, data preparation, and exception handling often behave as step-fixed commitments that persist even when volume declines. Legacy systems frequently remain active during transition. The modeled improvement holds only when displaced labor and retired processes exceed both the platform invoice and the new internal cost base required to sustain it. A clean relationship sketch isolates the divergence. On the platform side, shared infrastructure and model development form a contained base spread across many customers. Above it, usage revenue can rise faster than incremental delivery cost. On the enterprise side, revenue sits above a thicker stack. Platform fees as a variable band, integration and monitoring as semi-fixed overhead, legacy maintenance continuing in parallel, and only then the remaining margin. The scalable layer captures expansion first. The consuming layer captures it only after older costs are removed. This is the margin boundary. The system lowers visible labor cost, but simultaneously introduces platform expense, validation burden, and parallel system drag. The gain is real, but it belongs first to the layer that controls scale. Under quarterly pressure in US public markets, cost timing shapes how initiatives are judged. Platform fees register quickly in cost of revenue. Labor savings take longer because headcount, contracts, and budgets rarely contract at the same pace as workflow automation. A pilot can demonstrate attractive unit economics, while the broader rollout produces a weaker consolidated result. The pilot measured the workflow. The P&L measures the organization. High pilot volumes often prove fragile in production. Early deployments succeed where processes are narrow, the data is clean, and the output is closely reviewed. Scaling changes the denominator. Data exceptions multiply. Change management spreads. Monitoring expands. What registered as a clean variable cost improvement begins to carry fixed cost characteristics once the system becomes part of core operations. The margin contribution that appeared attractive in controlled conditions frequently narrows once the initiative moves into environments with higher variability and less dedicated oversight. The apparent margin expansion holds only while usage rises faster than platform charges, oversight labor, sustainment cost, and parallel operating drag. Competitive pressure narrows outcomes further. When multiple firms adopt comparable capabilities through similar platforms, the efficiency advantage rarely remains proprietary. Customers may receive faster service or lower prices. Competitors may price away part of the savings. AI shifts from a source of margin expansion to a defensive adjustment required to match industry standards. The surplus can move toward customers or toward the platform provider that controls the reusable infrastructure. What begins as a potential margin advantage often becomes a cost of staying competitive rather than a source of durable differentiation. AI introduced through external platforms tends to augment before it replaces. Enterprises retain human review where failure carries high cost and keep legacy systems because reporting, controls, or operations still depend on them. During this period, the organization pays for both the new process and the old operating base. The platform provider carries no equivalent parallel burden. The enterprise absorbs the local complexity of making the system economically usable inside existing structures. These transition costs are rarely modeled at full scale during initial pilots, yet appear consistently once production volumes expose the full coordination requirements. The practical test is therefore not whether the AI workflow is faster, it is whether pre-AI cost displacement exceeds the full cost of platform access and internal sustainment under normal operating volume. If labor hours decline but review obligations remain, the benefit is partial. If legacy systems persist while usage-based charges grow, the benefit is delayed. If competitors pass comparable savings to customers, the benefit becomes defensive rather than expansive. The distinction between platform and enterprise margin realities is defined by where value is captured after the full cost stack is recognized. Platforms capture durable gross margin when reusable infrastructure converts many customers into high utilization volume. Enterprises capture contribution margin only when platform access, integration overhead, validation work, and legacy persistence are more than offset by cost removal that survives competitive pressure. Gross margin expands where scale is controlled. Contribution margin improves only where legacy cost is actually removed.